Another market we have a lot of liquidity on Insight right now is if PredictIt is going to release any new market by the end of the year. Do you have any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, look, I think that what I'll say is that generally speaking, Insight and Polymarket have had markets on this PredictIt question. I think consistently there has been a tendency, not only in the markets, but even among core PredictIt users to overestimate, or maybe another way to put it would be to panic too much about PredictIt's demise. I mean, you saw a bunch of people withdraw pretty large amounts of money last year. So I have always been, as critical as I've been of PredictIt, the way they've managed their risk and so forth. I also think that people have been way too quick to write them off, and just to kind of, I think they've overreacted as to how perilous their situation is. I mean, right now we know that the case is before the Fifth Circuit. We don't precisely know when there's going to be a ruling, but I think that there have been in recent days a number of pieces of good news. I think one is that the CFTC tried to basically have the case dismissed, and the Fifth Circuit judges said, no, we're not going to do that. And what they noted in the decision was that it's not just that they've said that PredictIt can continue while the court case is ongoing. What they also said is that even after the Fifth Circuit makes a determination, the CFTC will not be allowed to move to shut the site down for another 2 months after that. So at a very minimum, you're looking at a period where we're going to have a status quo with PredictIt that continues, and it'll be whenever the decision comes plus 2 months after that. Now, after that happened, I think we've seen yet another piece of good news, and I think I'm probably going to have a monologue about this in the episode for this one, but basically the big question mark has been, well, where is Victoria University in all this? So Victoria University is the academic partner of PredictIt. They've been very quiet. It's been hard for journalists to figure out what's going on there. And the CFTC made very clear, we don't want to hear from Aristotle or PredictIt anymore. We want to hear about our complaints. We want a response from this university. And so a big question mark was, well, what is Victoria going to do? Are they going to throw PredictIt under the bus, or are they going to, like, what are they going to say? And Victoria University responded, and their response has been publicly available now. And far from throwing PredictIt or Aristotle under the bus, the university issued a pretty strong defense of its arrangement with PredictIt. And they ran through in great detail that they claim they have kept the CFTC apprised of the arrangement. It's not some for-profit racket, at least in terms of how much money Victoria University has made. They go in detail with all the meetings they've had with the CFTC. So to me, I think that what we're looking at is a situation where the Fifth Circuit has already shown, when you look at not only all their decisions, but just qualitatively the hearing, that this is a court that historically has been skeptical of the administrative state. They've been very, very skeptical of the specific arguments that the commission has made against PredictIt. And at every juncture so far, they've more or less ruled in favor of PredictIt. So I feel very good about the likelihood of PredictIt remaining operating in some capacity, potentially even through 2024. Now, to me, the risk here, specifically with the market on Insight, is will PredictIt release a new market, right? So here, in order for the yes to resolve, it can't just be that the court intervenes or strikes down the no action letter and allows the site to operate. The court will also have to intervene to say that PredictIt can go back to operating like it was before. Or you have to basically assume that there will be some ruling by the court short of that, and PredictIt will just say, okay, we're taking a chance. We're going to operate a new market and dare the CFTC to come on board. That is a riskier proposition. So
yeah, I think,
by the way, there is a rules question here also, and
Right.
maybe you can look into it. But right now, in addition to PredictIt operating, there is also an application at the CFTC for predicted exchange, which, if it gets approved, it would basically operate by the same rules that Kalshi is as a DCM. So I'm assuming that the rules only apply to PredictIt, not to predicted exchange, but that would be something worth looking at. But okay, even if we're assuming that it's only PredictIt that we're dealing with, I think what I would say is I would probably I would do a small yes buy at the 38% here. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I think the markets here historically have underestimated PredictIt and its longevity. And I'm just thinking that any favorable ruling by the CFTC, so I think the likelihood the CFTC is going to rule, or sorry, the likelihood that the Fifth Circuit is going to rule in favor of PredictIt and against the CFTC, I think is very high. I would put that maybe around 85% or so. So what I'm thinking is that as soon as that ruling drops, if you can get the yes shares in the 30s, there may be a market reaction such that you can flip it for an immediate profit, and then read the ruling in detail and make a determination on whether or not PredictIt's going to offer new markets. I guess the final thing I will say, there's also a rules question that I think, unless PredictIt is ordered to shut down, the next move for them would not be, in my view, to open a new market. It would be to add names to its existing markets, especially the markets
Right.
on the 2024 candidates. So I don't think that would be enough to resolve yes, but if I'm wrong about that, you should tell me.
Yeah, so yeah, you're essentially right. So in the rules, we have a line changes to existing markets or addition of new brackets to existing markets will not be sufficient to resolve. So yeah, if they add names to the 2024 markets, that would not resolve this market. Yes. So with your PredictIt exchange question, our next line is if PredictIt changes their URL or launches a new trading platform that is still open to US traders, then any new markets on that platform will be considered. So if PredictIt exchange were to launch and it were to allow US traders and they release a new market on that platform, then it would be enough to resolve this market, yes.
Yeah, okay, so look, I think that maybe the short answer here is the market isn't fully efficient here. There isn't all that much liquidity, so I would ideally like to buy the yes, maybe more in the mid 30s, even low 30s, ideally. But yeah, I mean, if all you can get it as that 38, I would place a small yes buy. Basically, assume here a favorable ruling is coming from the Fifth Circuit. Hopefully, you get a market spike. But even if you don't, I think PredictIt would be very interested in rolling out some markets related to the Republican and Democratic primaries. I think they'd want to get those up as soon as they can. So, there's no shortage of markets PredictIt could operate. And I think that you're at least going to get your money back in any situation, in other than one in which the Fifth Circuit surprises everyone and sides with the CFTC. So that's about
Yeah.
as far as I would go.
Yeah, that seems fair. We don't currently have a market for it, but I'd probably price PredictIt itself surviving at definitely above at least 80% chance for end of the year. Yeah, like you've said, the courts have shown a lot of support for PredictIt here. They've not liked the CFTC's responses, and I don't think the CFTC has done a good job of justifying their position. And now we've even seen Victoria University's response on. They fully supported PredictIt. I read through that whole letter. It was amazing, actually. They showed full
Yeah, yeah.
support for PredictIt there.
No, it's very informative too. There's a lot of new information in there, which I'll
Yeah,
cover in a later episode. But
especially all the back and forth they had with the CFTC, which takes away from the CFTC's narrative that, oh, they haven't been communicating with us. they've been letting Aristotle profit a lot from this operation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's very informative. I mean, I think that the big risk, what I feared was that Victoria University would come in and basically just throw Aristotle and PredictIt under the
Right.
bus, which would be a perfectly reasonable thing to do of an academic institution, because I think, in fairness to the CFTC, I think PredictIt has pretty clearly flouted at least the spirit, if not the letter, of their no action letter. So I think that certainly they could have been vulnerable, but to the contrary, I think the judges would be on very solid grounds in ruling against the CFTC here.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, I hope you guys will offer more markets on the PredictIt question too. It's very interesting.
Yeah, we definitely will.